In 1985, Russian boxer Ivan Drago killed former US champion Apollo Creed in a tragic match that stunned the world. Against the wishes of trainer Rocky Balboa, Apollo's son Adonis Johnson accepts a challenge from Drago's son, another dangerous fighter. Under guidance from Rocky, Adonis trains for the showdown of his life, a date with destiny that soon becomes his obsession. Now, Johnson and Balboa must confront their shared legacy as the past comes back to haunt each man. While it may not live up to the first Creed movie, this is still a masterful successor that drives each and every character forward in their own story. There were some bits from the first movie that we didn't get as much in this one, like the impact of a community, which we really only saw in the first scene early on, but that's also more difficult with them moving from Philly to LA. I don't normally look at descriptions of movies before watching them, so I was pretty confused when the film opened up with these two guys in Russia, but it didn't take long for me to put the pieces together, and I think I was almost better off not knowing who Drago was. I could really feel the emotional weight and history behind these two families, and I think it was amplified for me because I was learning all of this for the first time. I was shocked when we got the history between Rocky, Apollo, Creed, and Ivan Drago, so for the first half or so of the film, I was still kind of taken in the fact that Drago killed Creed, and everything that came as a result of that. And then the fact that Rocky's decision to not stop the fight, and his regret for that, it added a whole new layer to each and every fight, because there was always that other option. It wasn't just about this person winning or the other, but there was also the idea of pride and ego versus being able to throw in the towel and give up. Everything between these two people made me just want to go back and watch the rest of the Rocky films now for the first time, and hopefully get to see some of this play out on screen. I did notice fairly early on that there was a different director behind the camera, with the fight sequences specifically feeling like they were shot differently. But other than the initial fight that we open up on, I never minded it at all. I was still able to feel entranced in every fight, which I think is amazing considering that I already know there's a third film. I know Adonis is going to make it out of this alive, and well enough to fight a new guy in the next film. And yet I was still constantly concerned with his health and his ability to care for those around him. His dealing with his father's death at the hands of his guy across the ring was also something that I was really engaged and interested in. This film was right up there with the first one, but I think a reason I didn't enjoy it as much was because it didn't feel as much like an underdog story as the original. He's still taking on a fighter who's heavily favored against him, but it was hard for me to care as much and be as engrossed when the main character is already at the top. He's already the champion, he's already done this before, so to speak. I don't think there's anything that could have been done to fix this though, it's just the nature of a sequel. Even though it's a boxing film, I think the reason I've enjoyed these so much is because it's not just about the ring. The lives of these characters are fleshed out, and we see them deal with new struggles and pains, like starting a new family. In my review for the first film, I had mentioned how I was hoping to see more from Tessa Thompson's Bianca in the sequel, and while I think we did get a little more, I really enjoyed the new angle they brought to her hearing loss. Initially, I thought they were going to go down the road, where it's continuing to get progressively worse, and the two of them have to learn to deal with her barely being able to hear. But instead they have to deal with the fact that their child is unable to hear, and I can only imagine the guilt that Bianca would feel for passing that condition on to her daughter. I'm assuming there's a bit of a time jump in between this and the third film, so I think this and her relationship with her daughter is going to be a very interesting thing to explore. Just like the first Creed, I think the character of Rocky really works well in the supporting mentor sort of role, and I really liked what we got to see from him with his relationship with his son. Adonis kind of filled that role for a while, but especially with him having a child of his own now, it gets Rocky to go and finally talk with his son again, and then meet his grandson. From what I've heard, he's not going to be appearing in the third film, which makes sense with the way his story ended. It felt like his character story was wrapped up, and the shot of him sitting by the ring after the fight was truly cinematic. But it does make me worried about how well I'll enjoy the third film, because Rocky and his relationship with Adonis have really been one of my favorite aspects of these films. Little Duke is good for training and in the corner, but he doesn't push Adonis' character as much as Rocky does. So I think it'll be interesting to see who plays that role of a mentor for Adonis when he's forced to take on his childhood friend in the third film. Something I was worried about coming into this was if the villain, so to speak, would actually feel like their own character, or just another fighter that Adonis has to go against, and I must say I was surprised at how much he felt unique to me. The son was alright, interesting enough to make for an enjoyable experience, but I was actually more invested in the father, who has the history of killing Adonis' father and then losing to Rocky and being shunned from the family, and now he has to throw in the towel and end the fight. He loses any hope of a future with the family that he had previously had, but he can live with that as long as he doesn't have to see his son die in the same way Apollo did. This just made me more excited to go back and hopefully get that backstory in a Rocky movie. Let me know what you thought of Creed 2 if you've watched it for yourself, and comment down below what videos you'd like to see in the future. Is there a movie or series you want me to review? Let me know. Remember to like the video, and subscribe for more movie content, and to follow me on my various platforms all listed in the description. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow.